Okay. Usually it takes a while for people to show up, but all right, what were we talking about? Maybe we should center this more too. We were talking about something kind of interesting. But
So do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about Postgres? Or
I don't know. I'll talk about whatever.
so, like, I'm kind of curious about, like, one thing we could do is look at the Postgres data files,
Oh, that's worse.
because I want to understand how they arrange everything, because I want to build a server too.
Okay.
And I want to build an application that, like, for the SQL thing, I want it to be able to run from my local computer, but I also want it to be able to run where the server is on a different computer.
Where the server is on a different computer. Okay. All right.
And when... Man, I'm like trying to like subtract the context of what I've told you from what the random people on the internet know.
Oh.
So are we on the stream?
Yeah, we are. Usually people just randomly show up. The first time you do this, it can be kind of weird and dissociative because it's like to imagine like the amount of people that are watching you, but
Yeah, all 7 of them. It's like a whole...
it just gets like, you get used to it, kind of.
Okay, man.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I try not to worry too much about like what the context is of like like if people are confused, that's their fault. They should just have learned more stuff beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, why is the aspect ratio 4:3? Because I dragged it off in the middle.
Yeah, let me pull up my notes about what I was thinking.
For Postgres?
For
Or just life?
server application. Or we could talk about life if you want to lead, and I could just try to incite wisdom. I don't know.
I don't really know, especially at the moment. I'm just trying to get better at computer science so that everything can fall into place. This is my friend Eric, everyone. He may be a recurring character.
Ooh. Ooh. I have a career here.
You can also pull up this this chat on your, like, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see the it'll be maybe delayed, but you're already getting some appearance glaze.
What?
Eric, you so handsome boy. This always happens.
Are they gay, or are they like meta, self-aware, ironic, not even real people gay?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Are you guys gay? Maybe they're women. They're not women. What am I saying?
There was one woman in my comment section once. Also, one time a woman sent me an email.
Whoa. You're really pushing the field forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's live? Oh, there I am. Look at that.
Yeah.
Whoa. This is like in that Star Wars knockoff where they look at the screen and they see themselves as the movie starts.
Huh.
Spaceballs.
Oh, I've heard of that movie. I haven't seen it. It's supposed to be pretty funny, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's spectacular.
We're all gay, but the compliments are honest. All right, cool. So today we're maybe talking about Postgres, but I don't know. Usually, like, what happens in these streams is you try to talk about something, but then like you get distracted by the nature of it being a stream. It's like not inherently very productive, unless you're like really used to being productive on stream. You know, like Jonathan Blow. You have to kind of be able to tune people out for
Yeah,
good
oh my
chunks
God,
of
he has
time.
actual work on his stream.
Yeah, how does he do that? Does he just ignore the chat?
I see him ask a bunch of questions, actually. Like, he actually has curated his group, and he has, like, a bunch of smart people who can just, like, can actually give him thoughts while he's
Really?
doing stuff.
Yeah. I was trying to do that the other day when I was working on this Ray Marcher, but the problem is like some people are like like I can't tell who's actually smarter than me or who's just like who's faking it. And it's like I'm not good enough to know yet on certain topics. And I just have to get better. That's really the tough pill to swallow here. I've been like doing all this like meta thinking about thinking ever since you introduced that concept of like logical first principles, and it's like I just got to stop doing that and start actually doing computer science is the conclusion I'm coming to. But I don't know.
Is that your final conclusion, or are you gonna have to think about it more?
No, I'm gonna have to think about it more. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about it more.
You know, I was just barely like yesterday. I concluded that I have a depth first search problem when I'm building stuff, and I keep like trying too hard to find the best way and thinking what all the other ways are, and that I needed to not do that and be breadth first. But honestly, I don't even think that anymore. Now I'm so for a full day I thought that, and I was being productive, and now I think I'm back the other way. Because it's like I could build a web app and just do it the first way that all the tutorials say
Yeah,
on YouTube. But like, do
yeah,
I know all the ways to do it? And I do know the best way to do it. And it's like, how can I actually build stuff that's of quality if I don't know what the options are?
yeah, yeah. It seems like a big problem of trying to build anything nowadays is like we've built up so much complexity and all these layers that it's easy to kind of get pulled down random complexity rabbit holes and end up like doing things that are really far from your original goal, you know? And maybe you could argue that's for the best if you're like learning and your goal is to just understand Postgres or like whatever you're doing, like databases at the deepest level, but
Well, it's like there's so much fake complexity. All right, somebody asked why we're interested in Postgres. So like, I don't care about Postgres specifically. I just want to look at a C code base where there isn't a million dependencies and it's in a low level like C that we actually see what the computer is doing. And I want to understand how people design server applications. And I don't care about Postgres code specifically. I need material to guess at what the actual considerations were when they were making engineering decisions. So like it could have been any code base. It could have been Apache or Firefox or whatever.
hmm, yeah. I, I don't, the code base doesn't especially matter to you then. It's more just
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't want to do a Java code base because I don't want to have to look at all the objects and stuff. I just want to actually see code that does stuff.
yeah,
Like Sylvan and I have been looking at it here and there, and looking at different things, and like figuring out how they use allocators and how they do all the startup stuff and all the OS stuff that they need to do to make the thing run reliably. And so like one thing that I'd like to do, maybe we'll get to it, maybe we won't, is I want to know how they organize all of their data files and all of their install files.
hmm.
And I'm curious a little bit how that works on other operating systems in Linux, but my VM is not in a good mood, so I don't think I'm going to get my Windows set up today.
Wait, their data files, like you mean like persistent information
Yeah.
about like the state of the program?
Yeah, so the actual databases in Postgres are files on the computer.
Right. But are you talking about the data or are you talking about like other like not the user's data but like data that's involved in the process of storing the data, you know, like um I'm trying to I don't like process information that needs to be persistent across restarts, I guess.
Yeah, anything that gets put on the file system at
Yeah.
runtime is what I'm curious about. Because, like, yeah, there's a lot of different types of stuff that gets put there, and I'm curious how they separate it and what they think.
Yeah.
Somebody says that they don't think Postgres is this peak of C software.
What is the peak of C software then?
Yeah, dude, I don't.
SQLite not a better option? I was actually wondering that too. Like why did you pick Postgres over SQLite?
I wanted Postgres because I wanted a server application, and SQLite is not that.
It's not?
No, you can't. Like, it can't serve things over the network. It's just something that you use as a library in your thing. It does a lot of the file stuff, but
But could you combine SQLite with some kind of like server to serve it over the network?
Yeah, like if you wanted to make a front end for SQLite, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
people sell that actually.
I
But
see.
maybe that's what Vercel does. I don't know what Vercel does, but
They do a lot of stuff. Yeah. Hmm. Let's see. People want dancing, I guess, rather than programming talk. I think you're at the wrong stream, guy. You know, actually though, like dancing, there's like a lot to dancing. Like Sumit was like really, I think he's like really into dancing. There's a lot to it actually. It's kind of a whole art form. But yeah, I don't know. So the should we look at the data files of Postgres?
yeah. So I have it installed on my machine.
Postgres.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is a Linux, but it's like Nix, so it's like very unusual. But
So you want to look for the actual location of the files rather than like where they place them in the source code?
well, I think all of the data is in one directory. Um, but yeah, no, I want to look at the actual files that are there first and try to make some inferences. You see, if we get into the code base, we're going to be lost for like hours trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I share my screen somehow?
Hmm. What does chat think about that? I'm using OBS Streamlabs instead of some more based FFmpeg thing, but yeah. Just getting into programming, wondering what the best first lang I should learn for CSS or Postgres. Bro, what does that even mean? For CSS or Postgres? Is this guy trolling? Those are just completely opposite ends of the spectrum, dude. Um, hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's the best way to share your screen across this.
Can I join you in a call and then you just share your screen? But it's
Oh, that's a good idea. Do you think that that would have any negative effect on like um, the network? Like, I actually don't understand this fundamentally. Like, if we're calling and streaming at the same time, does that use up bandwidth, or is that
so unless you like know something specific about the network, my guess is that it goes all the way to Discord or whoever's server and then back to us for every stream that you have open.
yeah? And then this is going just off to YouTube. Huh. Thing is, well, also don't want to open my Discord on stream because like there's hella embarrassing shit in there. Maybe I don't know. Like I don't want
Yeah,
to risk it.
this is hard. All right, never mind. So, do you have Postgres installed in your computer?
I have I have it cloned locally. I maybe have it
No, you have to actually run it so that it can set itself up. Like I have.
All right. Well, I'll see if I can get that to work.
I mean, if I just type in the ls command and then paste that somewhere, like. Yeah, I'm just going to paste it in the chat. Look at that. Oh, it's not going to let me. It's too long. You got to pay for Twitch Premium Pro Plus, dude. Do you have a way of getting something out of Discord, or oh, is your whole screen
Well,
being shared?
what I can do is switch to the main camera, which
All
and then get it out of Discord.
right, hang on.
Discord has gotten so much worse in my opinion recently. Like I feel like all the features kind of low-key are broken. Like literally look at this. The client has crashed. I'm like clicking on buttons and nothing is happening. I think like they've got all their interns vibe coding shit.
What?
Like the application is just not responsive.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mine works.
I am using a really off-brand open source Discord.
What? How do they?
It's just a rewrite of the front end, but I swear this never breaks. This is like the only time this has ever broken in this bad of a way. I mean,
Dude, that's the, you know, open source software never breaks until you try to use it in front of somebody else.
yeah, that's so true. Honestly.
It's like, does a tree fall in the woods if nobody's there to hear it? It's like,
yeah, very true. All right, well, I can open the web client.
is it a web app? Somebody's blaming React and garbage collection.
It probably is, yeah. Yeah. I guarantee it is actually. It's Discord is just a web view, isn't it?
I thought that they were rewriting it in Go, but I don't follow. I don't know.
Wait, what am I looking at here?
Okay, so the second screen, I just sent you a picture because the LS output got all screwed up. But just open the picture. So that is the data directory. All of the Postgres runtime stuff is in there.
Okay. So base global. All right, what is all this stuff?
So there's the PID file.
The process ID.
There's postgresql.conf.
Okay.
It's postgresql.auto.conf.
Okay.
It looks like they have a version for the entire directory. All right. So I guess, man, this sucks so much. If I share Discord with you streaming, can you like pull that into a separate window and then share only that window?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let me call you.
Hopefully this doesn't mess with the mics.
Oh, turn that off. Share screen.
Okay. Oh, I just left my Discord open, I think. Yeah, whatever.
Right. Hopefully I don't get canceled and lose my opportunity to be president here, because I haven't thought too hard about what.
Yeah, that's certainly a danger.
This all looks safe, yeah. All right. Do I need to make the font big? Plus, all right.
Oh, beautiful. Is this... If you look at the stream, well, damn it. How can we tell that this is what's showing up?
You watch the stream. Okay, I'll put my computer where you can see it.
Oh, and then I watch the stream. Genius. We're really hacking this together.
What?
First one, I kind of know the answer, but still gonna ask, if I'm looking for programming language with code generation, should I go with straight Lisp or Racket? Do you know the answer to that?
Are you trying to like, I don't know what either of those things are, dude. Oh, I know about Lisp, but like, why do you want a program? Do we care? Are we trying to help him?
No. Oh, did you see the vulnerability in WhatsApp and Signal where you were able to know if the person was on a call on the phone or the phone was locked and unlocked just by timing the server response?
If you're trying to get good at programming, do something basic until you know enough to actually make decisions for yourself, dude.
All right, let's wait, I watch the stream. No, I watch wait.
Don't you see what you're sharing? Because you're sharing your screen.
I could select a specific window, I think. So I could display window capture. Oh, okay. Figma.
Guys, this guy is such a genius. He can't look at his phone because his phone is actually the thing recording us right now, so we can't do that.
How about?
So I can see the stream on mine. Share your window. We'll look on my screen to confirm that we're actually doing it right.
Hold on. I'm trying to switch to the correct window here. Why is Firefox not showing up? Application capture. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here. Is Firefox not open? Is it you're not allowed to share Firefox? Why is it not showing up? God, why is this such a... So... Oh, wait. Will that work?
So is it like a fixed width behind? Is it 10 seconds? Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
And this is... All right. This is so confusing. Postgres. All right, here it is.
We can't read chat, unfortunately, but...
All right, so this is Postgres. I have Postgres installed. This is all the data that it creates when you run it for the first time, all right? So here's all the sizes of the files. They're all pretty smalls.
Okay.
This is actually, it's like the minimum size you can have is this size is 4 kilobytes on my system.
That's the minimum? Like, why do they clamp?
Because you have to get a whole page of the disk, and page size is 4.
Per file?
Yeah.
But they can do more than 4?
Yeah, so like to be efficient, the disk and the whole system isn't going to like give you just 1 byte. It's just going to give you a page, which is the nearest like unit it can assign you. Like it says here from stat that an IO block is 1 kilobyte. But stat is really old, and a lot of this is kind of weird. But like, so the actual file size is 94 bytes. It's how many are being used. But 1 whole block is being reserved. So if I put more stuff in the file up to that block, it's not going to have to reallocate anything.
The reason is it kind of the same concept as like an allocator where it's more efficient?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
But how does that change like when the consideration is instead of like RAM, it's like disk, you know? Like why?
It's like fundamentally the same thing. The differences are that disk is a lot slower and cheaper are some things that you think about when you're doing these things, and there's a lot more of it usually. So spending 4 kilobytes for 0 actual bytes is just not a big deal most of the time. It's also not a big deal in RAM, but it is more of a deal.
Okay.
When you do anything with disk, you have to load it into RAM first before you can actually do it. So the kernel maintains like a map. So the kernel actually loads in an entire page into memory when you ask to do something with it. And maybe the Linux people decided that 4 kilobytes was like an efficient number to do that with. On other systems, it's different amounts.
Can we check like if does someone know that? The nice thing about Stream is once in a while someone can tell you like a more exact. But it looks like they're just talking about some nonsense at the moment. That's all right. All right.
So like I see that Postgres has all of these different directories, and I'm curious what their motivations are for doing that. So I understand like a little bit of what's going on here. We have PID file, we have postgres.conf. I can't imagine there's any secret stuff I need to keep secret in here. I think this is all vanilla. Oh, I'm the root user right now, so I don't have Vim.
What?
So all right, so here's another thing, is that all of the data directory is owned by the Postgres user, and nobody else has access to it.
Wait, what was that whole Nick Shell P NeoVim?
I created a shell with the NeoVim package available in it, and then I entered that shell. So now I can have NeoVim.
That's convenient.
Dude, did they break? I can't just do this. I have to
What are you trying to do?
explore. So I have to actually type out explore now.
I guess so.
Right. So in the PID file, they actually have cool stuff in here. That's interesting.
Yeah, what?
So this is the path of the data directory. By default, server applications like this put their stuff in var lib, whatever their name is. And then NixOS felt the need to put 15 here. I don't know what that's about. This is probably the actual PID. This is probably IPC stuff.
What are the other like in between numbers? Do you
I
think?
have no idea. Like this is too large to be a PID. I feel like this is too small to be a PID in all likelihood.
Could it be a port number?
That sounds pretty plausible.
And then ready is some kind of status code. What's the 36 in this star though? Maybe someone knows.
Yeah, if we actually go into...
Does anyone know why that star is there?
I see I'm looking through the code base, but grep does not... I don't even know what to grep for.
Look at all those Mandarin characters.
How'd that get up?
Yeah, PID is rough. That's got to occur everywhere.
See, I think dot is being weird, and I can't... All right, I give up.
That's something I know. I have to buckle down and like really understand regex and escape sequences in the way NeoVim wants them.
Yeah, dude, that's like... It's like I know regexes and I understand, but Vim is weird. All right, so there's an actual... All right, there's like a few different config files, and they decided to separate them. And there's probably some wisdom in there. If we look at actual conf, so you see here that this is actually a symbolic link to some Nix nonsense, which tells me that this is, so like Nix has this really annoying thing it does, which is also really nice sometimes, where it takes all the config for whatever program you're installed and makes it so that you do it the Nix way, and then it generates the config that the program understands. So like if I go into my actual... I can do that.
Zoom in a little bit on that. It's pretty tiny.
So this is my system configuration file. This describes all the stuff on my system. So it's like, do we have auto uploads? How does the bootloader work? What languages do I have? And then this is all the software that I have installed. Da 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 da. And then somewhere in here I have Postgres. And here I have all these Postgres thingy
What was
things.
that command? Was that like an in buffer grep?
Yes. No, yes.
Current buffer fuzzy. Huh, that's pretty useful. Is that telescope?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just comes with the telescope.
Yeah.
So like here I have, it's in this language Nix and it's functional and I do not understand how to use it and it defeats me every day. But usually I just put in new programs I want and it installs it and it's lovely and it never breaks. So it's great. But so like the Postgres service is enabled and we do TCP connections and we have this authentication block which gets put into something somewhere in the config we'll probably discover. And I have this commented out for some reason. I didn't actually put it in. But so this is the only line that gets put into the authentication file. But it's like everybody has their own. It's really annoying. Everybody has, it's so much Nix stuff to learn on top of the actual stuff. It's really not my favorite.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, doesn't it kind of seem like that for a lot of operating system stuff though? Like the programs are really kind of dependent on the operating system, or the operating system kind of distorts them. And
Well, it's like OSs have different conventions, but a lot of the time what I notice is that
yo,
the program...
Jake Pappas showed up in the chat. No way.
Who's that?
The roommate.
Oh, nice. Hey, Jake. So different operating systems have different conventions, but what I've noticed is that at least a lot of open source software just ignores them and does whatever. Like NeoVim, if you install it on Windows, just has a NeoVim install directory, and then it has all of the directories that would be on Linux in var and /bin or whatever, just all in that one directory. But there's still var and bin in that directory. It's like, I guess Windows doesn't have really strong conventions about where apps should be and how to break them up and whatever. But on Linux, like there is strong, like everything is supposed to go in a specific place, and it's like you know what that is usually. Like if I go into Etsy in the root directory, this is all the configuration stuff for the system, and like all of your config really should be here if you're a system service. And if you're in var, this is where you should put all data that needs to be stored persistently, which is not going to grow indefinitely and overcome your system. Because in like production systems, or at least the ones I see, like I get yelled at all the time because I put Docker. I didn't change Docker from the default var lib or whatever, and then we ran out of space because we actually have var mapped to like a specific, like it's a fixed size, and they don't want to extend that. And in other places in the file system, they mount things that they are willing to extend, and that's where all of your data should be going.
I gotcha. And then they have like ways that they handle it not overextending and overwriting things.
Yeah, so they do crazy stuff where they have 7 disks plugged in. I haven't seen any of this stuff. I just hear about it when I break things. But they have all these things plugged in, and like if I look at mounts here, like there are all these different mount points, like the dev message queue thing and the kernel debug path. Like this is an actual device. So like I have an NVMe here, right? So like my root file system is on this physical partition of my device. But they like partition their drives differently, and they have virtual machines that share hardware, and they like try to map everything crazy. But it'll be like the root partition is 10 gigabytes or whatever, and they're not going to extend it, and they want you to put all of your data somewhere else. And that way they can only back up that specific device that has the stuff that's actually valuable that you can't just get from the package manager. And like maybe you encrypt some of them and maybe you don't some other ones, and like maybe some of them are on different devices and they're across the network. Like my home directory at that company is over the network, and it's all NFS,
What's NFS?
network file system.
Oh, okay, okay.
So like when I log into different machines, they're all now mounted to that same NFS drive. So my home is the same everywhere.
Yeah.
So like I'm seeing in the PostgreSQL.conf here that they just have, you see this stuff got generated. The PGHPA thing up here got generated from that string that we saw in my system config file.
Yeah.
And they have all these things. And I guess I'm going to notice here that all of these things don't need to change after you install the server.
Okay.
Now we also have PGHPA in the data directory. Now, like this mentions a specific HPA that is in a system that is not in the data directory, but there is one in the data directory here, and it has stuff in it. And this looks like some default. Maybe I played with this one day. I can't quite remember. But so all the stuff in HPA, I don't know what HPA stands for. I forget. But this is all like who's allowed to actually access the server over the network. And they have this whole thing explaining it up here. Postgres is really easy and nice. But like you can say in writing in the config file, presumably because some admins like using the config file over doing it in SQL. I don't really know what's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can say what database has every rule and what users are in that group, or this rule applies to, and what addresses they're allowed to connect over, and what addresses they're allowed to connect from. And then the authentication method. Like we got this whole trusting thing going on. But what you could do is put stuff like MD5, which does passwords.
Okay.
Or maybe you could do SHA. I don't remember. It says it up here. But there's a lot of methods, but I don't really care about that today. But so this is more stuff that doesn't need to change after you install and configure the server the first time. And my assumption is that there might be ways to override these things in SQL, but that these act as the default values until somebody's overridden something.
Huh. Systems local trusted. Yeah.
So this is, yeah. This is identity file, and this refer to, man, I should have read the docs here.
Let me make sure real quick no one has said anything groundbreaking. Not especially. There's this really cool guy from MIT. Oh, Jake left. See ya, Jake. This guy Astros Sam Dev. I don't know if you've ever seen his YouTube channel, but he made some crazy stuff. Like a neural network for like bridge building across a gap is the video I remember.
I think I saw, or at least it came up for me.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, but my wild guess is that it's, if you have a cluster of servers and some of them replicate to other ones, you give them their identity here, which is what ident is. But maybe also this is for like, you have one Postgres server, but you have multiple like distinct spaces that people can put databases, and they're like for governance. Instead of having multiple instances of Postgres running, you just have this.
Interesting. Huh. That's kind of weird. Okay.
So here's autocont.
Yeah. Well, .auto.com. Do not edit. It'll be overrun by the alter system command.
That's interesting. So this is like, I'm in Postgres doing SQL to change configuration, and it's actually going to write to this file.
That is really interesting, actually, yeah. So if you use alter system,
They have help utilities here.
Oh, 2 equals, okay. Syntax is so nasty. Okay, there's a URL they're giving you for the conf.
Well, where are all the values we
You
can
have
have?
727 YouTube notifications.
Dude, this pisses me off when websites do this thing so much, where they have their own notification system, and then they put, like, I don't care about your notifications, dude. Like, oh.
Yeah, just let us see the actual name of the tab.
It's like, my computer is a tool that I use to do what I want, okay? Like, I know you really want, you're really excited about, whatever.
I can't wait for YouTube to drop the config file update.
All right, so, oh, here's in chapter 20. I gotta look at the things in front of me. All right, well, I'm just gonna set some kind of ball, low ball, perfect. I just want to see it change the file.
Alter. And then you gotta... Oh, did it work?
It did. Look at that.
Oh, damn. That's... So why are they doing that like that? Why do they have a file that's hot reloaded like that?
So it's like you have something that you need to persist, so it has to be written to the disk, right? So it's got to be in some file.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm wondering is why they decided to do it in straight text like this instead of some kind of SQL relational thing. And I have an answer that I'm tempted to give, which is that SQL relational things are really gruggy to work with, and it wouldn't really provide a lot of benefit here, and this is probably easier. Like, I'm considering for myself in this project I'm working on, if I'm going to use something like SQLite and do everything relationally for persistence, or if I'm just going to freeball put files everywhere and then read the files. And I'm leaning towards files, and honestly, I'm not sure why you would ever use a database if it's just private files for your application.
Let's hear what. Does anyone have any answers to that? Why would you use a database ever?
Can you make the chat large for me? Let me get my...
Why would you ever use a database ever? Instead of just slapping files everywhere. Does anyone know? Do we have someone will say it eventually. I should plug my computer in too. Cuz we were trying to figure that out last time. Like, why wouldn't you just do that?
Okay, we're hearing easier to query. That's a legit thing. If you have like actual relational data and a lot of it, and you need to. But
Wait.
also, okay, so like for that to be useful, it needs to be some kind of data that people are going to want to access semi-arbitrarily. Because of the features that a DB provides. Okay, so like I want to talk about actual concrete benefits. So like, what is the feature?
because
Why?
it does things. Wait, just because I'm like trying to understand things better from first principles, like I feel vaguely confused about relational. Like we're talking just like row versus column, or
So when you use a relational database, the like big trade you're making is I'm going to constrain all of my datas to fit into tables which have fields which are in the SQL types. And I'm going to use this whole relational approach to doing things, and in return, the database has implemented a lot of code for me.
gotcha. And like a lot of like structuring and optimization and whatnot and packing things in, you mean?
Yeah, so they make you not have to think about doing the files, and everybody knows SQL.
You don't need SQL a lot of the time, especially with binary formats, but it's more about the querying of data than storage.
Where did you point the word? Who said that? You don't need to. Okay.
More about the querying of data. That seems like reasonable.
Yeah.
And then acid is like that's like the atomic stuff where you don't want to get into weird data race conditions.
Okay, somebody said it's cleaner. That's a terrible reason. It's not a reason. This doesn't mean anything.
A hardcore rationalist here.
Okay, so you don't need SQL a lot of the time, especially with binary formats. That's basically where I am. Is like, yeah, it's about the querying. All right.
Well, oh, that's a good question. How do you feel about like MongoDB, or
I don't really understand what Mongo is. Is that just like,
it's
so
like
it's a document-oriented thing?
yeah, it's like not relational, I guess. Right? It's just like blobs of JSON.
I mean, so like that's probably better fit for some applications depending on what you're doing. But I have the serious question, which is that if you're not even doing relational stuff, why aren't you just using files?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Mongo does some like crazy big end optimization code on like when you're storing like a ton of files, it's got some querying algorithms built in. Like you could implement all of that yourself, but
Can you do like indexes with Mongo? So like here's another thing that I'll hear and be happy about, which is that you can do indexes on relational data that are secondary based on whatever field. And there are total use cases where that's a great thing. I don't know if Mongo does that. Does Mongo do that?
um, I'm not honestly sure. Mongo is I thought Mongo was like a despicable like web level technology that
Indexing, sharding, and high availability. Okay,
sharding and high availability.
that's a good one. I'll take that. Well, actually, will I?
What is sharding?
So sharding is you have a very large data set, and I'm not sure exactly what sharding is, but there's two approaches to dealing with very large data sets. So there's replication where you actually host all of the data on two machines. And that gets you a few things. One of them is if you were doing a read-heavy workload, you can distribute reads. If one of them is down, the other one can keep serving traffic, and that's what you get high availability. If you have,
Like you have to
like on separate
duplicate your
machines,
data?
yeah.
Oh, damn.
So if one of them dies, you get high availability. You can actually get geographically closer to people. That's a good thing. So like those are all reasons you want to do replication. So the other way of I think sharding is either that or it's partitioning where you actually split up the data and you don't have two copies of it. I mean, you can do both, but and then somebody asks a query and you have some efficient way of determining which database actually has the thing that it's asking about.
Right.
And then you can split up workloads so that you have multiple machines. Most requests can be served by only a single machine, and so you can serve twice as many requests. So sharding being a win for databases. The only reason, okay, that's obviously true in some cases, but what I'm thinking about is if it's replication, why can't I just do that myself? So in a scenario where there's only one leader and it's leaderful replication or single leader replication, and so that means that there's one source of truth and all the other databases are just listening and ready to trade over.
Yep.
So I guess I don't have to write that code, and that's good. But my counter to that and why I'm not sure is the code that I would have to write to do leader transfer and replication actually more code than I have to write converting everything to SQL objects and back and dealing with that nonsense? Because I still have to think about replication and I have to think about all these things still. So it's not super clear to me that the actual time saved is that much.
Is there a different form of replication where you don't have one leader?
Yeah, so there's single leader replication, there's multi-leader replication, and then there's leaderless replication. So what happens when you have more than one leader is that you have to start dealing with conflicts because a write can happen to two places at once that's conflicting, and then you have to figure out how to put that together. And there's all these different strategies, and like Postgres has some default ones where it'll just take the last write and that one wins and it crushes the other one. But maybe your specific application has a strategy, like Google Docs is an example of multi-leader replication, not because they have multiple servers, but because everybody has their own copy of the document on their machine.
Right.
So when you type a character and your cursor is on a position and somebody else is typing in their character, right? So they need to have a conflict resolution strategy to resolve all that information into a single actual document.
Right.
So they have their own special conflict resolution strategy. I forget what it's called, but it's documented, where you can combine text like that.
That's actually really cool, because you could theoretically apply those principles to, that's how pair programming probably also works, right?
I don't know. So In the single leader replication case, it's not super clear to me what I'm getting from Postgres over me just writing a thing. In the multi-leader replication case, like if I have to do some clever conflict resolution strategy, that has to get implemented in my application anyway. So like, what does Postgres give me? Like if I'm just using the default one where the last write writes over the other one, I don't know.
Not using files because because if you scale and you want to write to the file, now you will write to all files on all servers.
What? So he's saying we have multiple servers. So stuff has to be written to all the servers to achieve replication. That's just how it works. Like if it's not on the servers, you're not doing replication.
Okay, MongoDB keeps the working set in RAM and serves large queries directly from memory or indexes, while SQL databases often rely on row-by-row disk fetches and slow join operations that allow more write time. Oh, that slows more write time.
What?
Mongo keeps the working set in RAM and serves large queries directly from memory
Relational databases do that too.
or indexes. SQL databases often rely on slow row-by-row disk fetches.
What do you mean slow? Like row by row? I don't know what that means. Like you're saying they have to do full table scans? I mean, like, sure, sometimes, but you have to do that with Mongo if you do full, like, yeah. That's nothing to do with relational databases exclusively.
Dude, what if Mongo just has everything in RAM all the time? They don't actually touch the disk. Your data just stays loaded in RAM.
Yeah.
You need a crazy server for that. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I mean, so all databases that are actually being serious do some degree of that, and like Linux does some degree of that for you anyway, because it caches the file system every time you do something.
Right. Yeah.
But I'll mention to everybody that even if you're doing that, in order to guarantee persistence, you need to write every piece of data you receive to the disk. Period. You can't. So you're still writing the disk, but reads are faster. It's only reads. And it can help writes too, because you got to like do checks sometimes, but it's.
Mongo avoids joins entirely by embedding related data in a single document and serves most queries from RAM or covering indexes.
All right, so you can't say that it serves most queries from RAM because we're not talking about a specific use case here. Like sure, that happens when that happens, but that doesn't.
You mean you can't say most because it's like...
If you have a document database of 1 billion documents and there's no patterns on how it's accessed, nothing is going to get served out of RAM because you can't put it all into RAM. Like, if you have access patterns to let you do it, it'll do it. But like, we're talking about different databases and why we would have it, and that's not anything intrinsic to the actual programs that we're talking about. What was the second half of that, though?
And serves most queries from RAM or covering indexes? Do you know what Redis is?
Point to the thing that you're reading. MongoDB avoids joins entirely. Okay, so like avoiding joins, like that's not... Yeah, all right.
How does a join like work under, like what is a join under a microscope?
So like when you have data in relational form and you normalize everything and you get everything scattered all over the place and you need to have hierarchical relationships, then you have to join things together. And that involves looking, so like the trade-off is the things that need to be reassembled are in different locations on disk, so you have to find them all to get them all together. And so you have to do joins.
In like a hierarchical relation, like a parent-child relationship kind of thing.
Yeah, so like that's so if I was doing a JSON object, I could just put that in Mongo, and if I want a specific field on the object, it's there. But if I'm putting a JSON into a relational database, the first thing I have to do is shred it so that it's in relations. And then they all have to have keys that point to each other so that I can jump to the right place. So like if your
I
application
see.
allows you to do document-oriented stuff and that's what you're doing, then yes, that is a benefit of Mongo. But also that's just a benefit of good database design. Like you can make SQL stuff better or worse in terms of how many joins you have to do.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into database science, actually. Um, why are you reading from chat? Go read the Mongo docs. Do you really care what Mongo does, though?
Yeah, I don't use Mongo. I don't know.
Well, what if it like insta solves all your problems?
Well, yeah, what if it does?
There's also Graph database. Also, Postgres has binary JSON, making it handle the stuff MongoDB does. That was like one of the extensions we saw, right?
It can do binary JSON. I don't.
Wait, is binary JSON just where you load the data into the database without like fracturing it all down into relations? You just like throw the whole thing in there.
I don't know the details of binary JSON, but here's my guess: is that it retains the hierarchical format of JSON and the document orientation of it, but it just replaces all the curlies and stuff with like length delimited fields and some format that doesn't require you to parse the whole thing to get out a field.
Okay, yeah.
So like, yeah, it's document oriented, and probably Postgres has a bunch of nice functions for working with JSON or whatever, and you get a bunch of the advantages of document oriented stuff.
How do you like query a document-oriented database?
I think they have their own query language, and it's like, I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't have a good sense of like of how that really works.
This guy says he doesn't think joining is actually a good abstraction slash solution to relational data. I find just representing it as a graph way better.
What does he mean by a graph? Like,
So graphs are hierarchical and have references is the whole thing. Or I don't know if hierarchical is the right word, but you have direct references to the things.
from each other?
Yeah. I have like zero understanding of graph databases, but I don't know if that's what he's talking about here.
Wouldn't you have to store like a lot of different connections between things then?
Yeah, so I think that they're designed for cases where there are just intrinsically lots of connections, and maybe they get some kind of optimization for doing that. Like I remember hearing that
Yeah. Yeah.
in SQL, if you want, in relational land, if you want connections, you have a table that stores all of the connections, and then you have to query that table saying connections from this object. But I think that the secret sauce of graph databases are that they keep the relation next to the object that is being related from /to, so that you don't have to do that second lookup.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, but and you'd use this in a context maybe with like I feel like I remember hearing like social networks as the big example because there's some reason that it's much more efficient. Like when you I think like friend search or something, that feature will search like outward from where you are using Dijkstra's algorithm or whatever. Like if you need like locality searches, it's really useful. Whereas because if you've got like a billion users, it's like difficult to search that quickly.
Well, it's like, what are you searching by is the question, right? So if you're searching by user ID, relational is the way to go because you can't beat the B tree pointing at the rows. Like if it's just key value data, relational stuff, well, not just relate, forget I said that part, but like, so it's good for specific access patterns, which is the optimization. And the difference between relational and object or a document and these graph databases. Because like a lot of access patterns are just good for relational stuff, but some access patterns are you want the full struct all the time, hierarchy included, and that's why you want document. And then for I don't know what graph is good for or why. And I'm just going to say something stupid if I try to guess because I know there's a lot of clever math going on there.
Yeah, a good indication that it's clever is why would it exist and be used in massive production systems? Like someone saying here, Poseidon is saying, isn't graph traversal sometimes wildly inefficient than just joins? Which is like, yeah, I would guess that, I mean, based on how different the two things are, there's going to be a complete gamut of all the different, like, you could find a case where any I'm sure it's like a sliding thing.
Wait, so you're saying is graph traversal wildly inefficient than just join? So like what database system are we on? Like to answer this question, you just have to think about what the computer actually has to do to complete the task, and then you will have the answer. Like if you're in a relational database and you're storing like graph type data in a relational database where everything's related to other things and there's like arbitrarily deep hierarchies. You could say that the join stuff is slower because every time you traverse a link, you have to search through two tables, or one table at least, and you have to traverse the B tree to find all the links. And then once you get the other end, you have to traverse the entire B tree again. Whereas with graph, the links are just stored right there. But it's totally specific to what you're doing, dude.
Here's an answer based on that earlier question. It's MongoDB. You use like name and then Bob, and then you get the full documents that match that selector. You can also add other kinds of query types like less, greater than, matching substring, etc. So you're like passing objects almost.
So when I do a query for name equals Bob, is there an index on name? There must be for this to make sense, probably.
What do you mean index and name?
Okay, so like you have all of the documents, right? How do you ask for all of them that have name Bob?
Yeah.
Does it have to look through every single document to find all of those?
It's a good question.
Right, so that's why you need the indexes.
Well, does it have to look through every single?
If there's no cleverer way to find it, yeah.
But maybe Mongo does have some.
Well, if it has a cleverer way, it's going to be called an index because that's just what indexes are. But it'll be like a special Mongo index.
Yeah. Huh.
But I'm too lazy to actually look up the answer to that, and I don't care right now.
A lot of games just serialize their entity systems like into a database.
No, just you see, okay, dude, this guy is watching the same video as I am because the whole reason I started thinking about this is I was watching Jonathan Blow rant about why can't we just serialize our files, and like why even JSON.
Why can't we just serialize our files? In what context? Serializing your file meaning turning it into a certain format?
So like you have data and you need to persist it, which
Yeah.
means you need to have a specific format in mind. And the process of writing stuff out of memory into persistent stuff is called serialization.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to leave memory. You can serialize it in memory, and then maybe that's a better use of the word, and then writing it to disk is a separate step. But serializing is turning it into that format.
Wait, what's like the root of serialize? Is it like why is it called that? What other words are related to serialize?
So like serial means to send something over the wire, you have to serialize it. And I think that means turn it into bytes or turn it into a sequence of symbols, maybe is the better word. So like when we serialize something, we get rid of all of its structure and turn it into just bytes.
Oh, publish or broadcast in regular installments, like a serial TV show. That's so cool. That's actually an awesome way to use that word.
Nice.
That's so funny, actually. Dude, the people that come up with like names for these things are kind of brilliant, because that's just like a perfect analogy from publishing. I feel like this is just me, but like learning the like reason why certain words are called. What am I fucking trying to say? I'm so inarticulate. Learning like the history of those words is really helpful in like remembering things, because I don't know, just in general, like vocabulary is quite powerful.
You know, I feel like I've noticed a similar thing, but like noticing patterns is interesting because every time you can connect something, it like seems to add a point of how important it is for my brain to remember it. And
Yeah,
like
exactly.
noticing vocabulary connections is one way to connect things, yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't really do that, I've found like just scanning over information and not connecting it well, it fades really quickly. Or it practically doesn't write into memory. It's like fake memory, you know? Like if you're just that's what I've found in what you were saying about like actually really thinking about things. Like I've fallen into the trap of just consuming information and not considering it deeply enough. And it just like it leaves your mind if you don't. Okay, but so serialization. So we're publishing our file in little chunks for an audience, I guess. All right, what were we talking about?
The other thing I'll say about document-oriented databases that I'm confused about is, like, isn't the file system a documented-oriented database? Like, so I guess in my mind, the advantage of a documented-oriented database is queries, but like, we already have grep, but like grep doesn't do everything, okay, fine. And then transactions, but you can just do that with file system stuff. That doesn't
What's a
really...
transaction?
It's being able to do it right that's complicated and has multiple steps, and if it fails in the middle, you have the original copy of the data still, so you can retry
What
safely.
kind of write would be in multiple steps? Like are you writing in chunks or something?
Well, it's like if you have multiple objects that are related and need to be kept, like there's some invariant you're trying to maintain, like if you have bank accounts and you're trying to maintain the invariant that the total amount of money in the system stays the same, you have to subtract from one person's and then add to another's in separate steps. So you need to make sure that either both those things happen or they don't.
I see. Right. Invariant, you mean like just constant? Like it should stay the same?
An invariant is a rule that is always true,
Yeah, so
or
a
a statement you
constant.
can make. Oh, well, I guess so.
Yeah, for some reason, well, I don't. Invariant seems slightly different than constant.
Yeah, I don't know. Constant means a lot of different things. Like, it is constantly true, but like every time we make a statement, it's kind of like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right, we'll see if anyone has anything to say. Using databases for distributed systems is often safer than rolling your own because if you don't know shit, YK. I mean, just get good, bro.
Who said that? Who said that? Oh, yeah, there you go.
No, I don't know.
Often safer than rolling your... Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's legit, you know.
Okay, plain serialization dumping memory to disk makes it platform dependent, byte ordering, etc.
No, it doesn't. Just always do it in the same byte order, and then it's not.
Also, application version dependent since variables and object structure can be reordered and packed. Well, why are you changing the packing order with the version of your application? Just keep it the same.
Yeah, dude, so I don't think you're understanding serialization is the task of defining a format that is platform independent and consistent and can be read. Like that is what, like you serialize to a format that you design to have those properties.
Unless you don't want it to, unless you want it to be a butts serialization and you just want it to
I mean, if you
suck.
don't want it to work, there's lots of creative things you can do. But like
Serialization using
you
your
saying, and you say plain serialization.
we're roasting this guy unnecessarily because the very next thing he says is serialization using your own dump and read functions gives you more control and makes it possible for version upgrades. So like, I guess plain serialization is just dumping memory to disk is like that's just what plain serialization
Oh,
is.
he's just like copying C structs. Yeah, that's not serialization.
It's plain serialization.
It's
Oh, someone asked a while ago, what do you mean stop wasting time and get to actually coding? This is coding, kind of. Someone asked advice for freshmen learning C++. And I'll say just from my experience is like the learning programming gets exponentially better. Like there's a reason why most adults who are like working office jobs, like white collar jobs, like aren't they don't hate it, you know? And it's because it like gets more and more fun the more you go. That's my opinion at least. Like the first year of coding like sucks compared to as you start hitting more stuff. But yeah, this is kind of an agendaless stream. We're just
oh, I'm having a good time listening to everybody's arguments here. Somebody said something, okay, Neo4j for complex relationship heavy tasks such as real-time recommendations, fraud detection, network, blah, 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 NASA. If NASA's using it, it must be really good. Does Army, can I like click on a person and see what they've said over time?
I'm not sure.
Like, because this is like half of a thought. I don't know what he's saying.
You just got to keep on scrolling up.
All right, well, he's probably, he says agreed down here. I don't know, is Neo4j just a JavaScript all-around? Like, if that's the case, you're not actually saying a lot, dude. No, it's not.
It looks pretty official.
Yeah, look at all these cool slidey things it's got. It must be really nice.
Wait, can I watch your stream?
I'm still
Is it
sharing.
still going?
They
Oh,
got this
hell
killer
yeah.
website, guys. Look at all this stuff.
Okay.
It's dynamic and personalized UI.
Oh my god, they have blobs on the bottom. They must be good.
It has, dude, oh yeah, the signaling. Dude, my manager would be so excited about this right now. It's got knowledge graph.
I bet they even use Tailwind on this. Look at all those corporate logos. If BMW and Walmart use it, how can you not?
Yeah, dude.
So what does it actually
Yeah,
do?
dude, I don't even know what it is.
Classic web dev. What even is this?
Dude, it's like people, these things are targeted to managers who don't actually know what the hell's going on. And so it's just impossible to actually know what they do until you read. I need a manual.
Well, it can build intelligent agentic apps.
Well, who can't? Literally everything can. Like, so it has a graph.
So
it has an
funny.
Aura database. We can store Aura in it.
It's just like so markety. Like they're just like spamming.
You know what's crazy is I'll hear people tell me about all of this stuff that it can do seriously, like they know things. And it's just like,
It'll be really funny if this is like turns out to be a really cracked piece of software.
dude, maybe it is, but they did not make.
Can someone explain in plain English what this actually is?
Dude, they probably are, but it's just you wouldn't actually say anything. It's good for critical applications. Is one of its capabilities. Dude, I don't know. I'm sure that this is a great tool, though. I'm not even dogging on your tool recommendation, though.
Wait, here's Here's a question. I'm confused about graph DBs. If you're traversing a graph to find something, aren't you just doing something like DFS on each node?
I don't know what DFS on each node means.
I don't especially either. Like,
I mean, it depends on what your thing is that you're doing. Like, if you're trying to find all of your friends, second order friends, right, and it's friends, then maybe depth first search is what you're doing. But that doesn't even make sense. No, because you're not
that's
searching, you're
breadth first
just,
search, isn't it?
well, it's not even a search because you're just finding everything in a range. Like, I don't know if you're actually doing,
Yeah, what would be like a search example? Because you're right, that's just like a. Yeah, that's not really a search.
you got to actually go, there's this amazing book I will put in the chat. It's called, I read it all the time. It's called Data Driven, it's called Designing, I believe it, by O'Reilly.
Graph is just relational data. How it's stored and explored are fully dependent on implementation.
Sounds right to me. Yeah.
Wait, really? So graph databases are just the same thing as. Does that mean there's like bijection between the data? Like, could you just.
In terms of how it's physically stored,
Well, in terms of like, could you re-represent any relational database as a graph database without like any kind of distortion of the data?
generally, I'm sure, yeah, you can. I mean, and you can do that trivially because you can just turn the database file into bytes and then store all those bytes in a row. But like,
Okay, well that's one side of the bijection, but then how do you go back?
well, you just copy them back into the thing and then it's the bytes. I mean, you haven't done anything. Like, is what I'm just saying that it's trivially true what you're saying, but I think what you're actually interested in what you're saying is that, like, how convenient is it to represent different structures in these different ways? Like, I think you can represent anything in one and the other. Like, they're fundamentally just the same thing.
Yeah, it's just like a way of organizing the same kind of data for efficiency of lookup or something. Oh, we got Tony, by the way, he makes like the best Nix tutorials on the internet. He just showed up.
Well, I haven't. I have to find those because I just don't know how to use my computer at all. Are you wearing a polo shirt? Is that what that is?
Yeah. I'm fancy today.
Yeah, he's a rich kid. You can tell by his shirt.
Yeah. Well,
Harry Potter trip.
I don't know, kind of.
I'm kidding, dude. I don't know. Hang on. I want to read all these because these are all super interesting. All right. He's confused about.
Right? Don't you see why streamers do this like addictively?
A file system gives you zero concurrency. You get shit querying in a file system. Want every user age greater than 30 in Berlin. You're grepping millions of users. Okay, so what you're saying here is that I have to linear time grep all of the things. You see, that's just not true. Like, that's not how. Zero concurrency. Okay, first of all, file systems have been concurrent for like ever now. Like, that's not. You can absolutely concurrently query file systems and stuff. You get shit querying a file system, want every. Okay, so if I want every. You seem to be confused about. Like, this is the challenge of databases and storing data, is getting at things efficiently, right? So if you're in a file system, all of your files have names, and those names are keys, and they point to values, which are the things in the files. So how do secondary indexes work? Like, if you're looking for everybody age 30 plus, right, you're talking about a secondary index. This is how indexes work. You have a B tree or a table or whatever that has the values of the secondary index and maps to the primary key, which in this case will be the file name. So if you want all users greater than 30 in Berlin, you have an index that you can efficiently look up all of the primary keys of all the users who are that thing. And then you only have to read those things. All right, that's how an index works. You can have an index on a file system, you can have it in relational, it doesn't really matter.
Wait, so does that mean you have like kind of a sub table for, or is it more of like a pointer to each different slice through the data kind of? So if you were looking for users in Berlin over age 30, you pull like all Berlin, all.
Yeah, so you query the index. The index is a table, and you look through it, and you get all of the primary keys. And then you take all those primary keys, and then you query the second table with them. Every table, like, it's a B tree, all right? Like, there's one key on all the tables. So, like, if you want to find all of the rows that have such and such criteria, and you don't have an index to efficiently determine which rows it is, you have to look at all the rows. That's just how it be.
Okay.
So file system, like, fundamentally,
Concurrency with file systems.
yeah, I mean, you can just do it concurrently, bro. It's great. Stop racing.
Yeah, but have you read Nietzsche?
What's that?
Someone's trying to change the topic.
Tiger Beetle has a lot of great talks on how they made the fastest financial transaction database and how general purpose ones is an order of magnitude slower. Okay, that's another reason why I'm curious why we're using databases. Like, if I have an application, like, it is an order of magnitude slower fully. And this is like trivially provable by the fact that I have to use the network to send a query that gets compiled to a program which reads the data and then formats it and then sends it over the network, and then I have to decode it in my program. Like, so it is automatically like 10 times, or at least an order slower than if I had just done all of that myself from my program, right?
Well, the question is kind of going to become at what scale does a database become the better solution? Or not scale. I'm sure there's some parameters, right, that maybe scale is one of them. Like how fast you're reading and writing data and how much acidity matters to you and how much.
Well, it's just slower. Like, there's automatically a way to do it faster. And, like, I don't think scale, like, in either case, if you have too many things, you just have to add more machines and parallelize things and do all the usual strategies to get scale. Like, the trade-off is between,
Someone's calling you the hybrid between Andrew Kelly, the creator of Zig, and the math teacher from Good Will Hunting.
I don't know either of those references, dude, so I hope that's good.
Anyway, what were you saying?
I forget what I was saying. Oh, slower. Okay, dude, so it is slower. Relational databases are slower. Having a database in a separate process that I have to contact and it does the thing and then gives me back the thing is slower. And the trade-off is that people think that using a database saves development time. And that is the trade that they're making. Is it the development time plus whatever else databases give you minus all their costs. Okay, it's a trade.
Development time seems to be a big popular.
So, like, fundamentally though, they are slower, and that's just the facts. Yeah, and like one of the big things I'm wondering is how much slower and for what use cases is development time actually positively impacted from using a database over just doing the thing that the database would have done.
Yeah. I guess, what's the best way to know? Is it just to experiment with different.
Well, I mean, there's the approach of just like thinking, okay, exactly what code will I have to write to do the thing? And then there's the approach of talking to people with lots of experience and asking them how long it took how long it took them to write the code and how much time they had to spend debugging the code or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way. How much time did you spend writing code? That's developer productivity. That's all it is, guys. Uncle Bob will be yapping forever about how, oh my God.
Okay. So, What's your specific use case? I feel like I vaguely understand it, but
Oh,
you're trying to write.
I gotta roast somebody real quick. Hang on. So this guy says, I think he's talking about Neo4j, and it says it makes modeling data as easy as writing on a whiteboard. Dude, modeling data already is that easy. Okay, modeling, like, the hard part is not typing in the commands that. Well, what are you even talking about?
Dude, writing on a whiteboard is hella easy. What do you mean?
Yeah, dude, I can just write the rectangles. I can put the arrows. You know, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to actually follow any rules. It's just all vibes, man. It's good. Like, database design is not. It's hard because you have to think about how you're going to use the data and how it's going to affect future decisions, and you have to make engineering trade-offs. Like, the whiteboard doesn't make this process any easier. And also, you can just use the whiteboard and then type in the commands. Like, I don't. Or is he saying that we don't have to type in the commands? Is that really the benefit here?
He has a smart whiteboard that handles that.
Or maybe it has AI in it, and it's going to, like, reliably do critical applications with it. All right.
So wait, so you're writing basically or trying to write a SQL, a program to run queries faster.
Um, Let me explain my situation at work. So, all right, blah, 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 blah. Holy shit, there's a Dijkstra for negative edge weights. It's called Bellman-Ford. Yeah, dude, it's so cool. All right.
Negative edge weights?
Yeah. Yep.
Doesn't Dijkstra's generalize to that?
And the generalization is the Bellman-Ford.
Oh, shit, yeah. But do you really have to do anything to it? Wouldn't it just work with negative edge weights?
No, so Dijkstra's doesn't work because it's greedy, and the greedy invariant depends on there being a least value of the edge weights, which is 0.
Oh. So it doesn't know what the least value is. You mean like you can't know?
Yeah, so if you have, like, Dijkstra's, part of why it's efficient is that it can skip stuff when it always explores the least cost first, and there is a least cost, and that's 0, and you statically know that there's a least cost. So it doesn't ever have to retraverse nodes, which it has already determined the cost of, because there can be no lower cost. But the reason Dijkstra doesn't work for negative edge weights is that you can make your way to a node and then arbitrarily discover a path to that node, which is actually a higher negative cost. And Dijkstra just won't check that. And the Bellman-Ford is basically, yeah, you got to check that case, bro, is my recollection of it.
Okay, yeah. What, like, why would that be useful though?
I don't remember the application, but there are scenarios where just the problem doesn't have an intrinsic. There is no intrinsic minimum on the edge weights for the thing you're trying to model. I think currency conversion might be one of those, but that doesn't sound correct to me. I think currency conversion was one of the trivial cases where you can turn everything into positive edge weights.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did he read every book in the background? No, I haven't finished. I haven't finished this one yet. But other than that, yeah, I'm almost done. Yeah. And actually, just the more you read, the more you know, so.
Facts, yeah.
Get on my level. That book probably has the secrets to everything, though. Once I read that last book, I'll know everything.
Yeah, just one more book, bro. Just one more book. All right. Should I explain what I want to do with my program?
Yeah.
What we're talking about. All right.
Yeah.
So at work right now, we have some of the most unhappy. So I'm not going to say where I work after this, okay? We have some of the most unhappy infrastructure ever. We have this vendor So we're a medical company. We move medical data around. We have a lot of it.
Just move it around.
We just move it around. We got to do. We have to be able to do analytical stuff on the data for stuff. And so we're using a software vendor company called InterSystems. You can look them up. They're a company.
Okay.
They make really, really low functioning stuff that isn't designed very well for a lot of things. And it's like nuanced or whatever, and it's hard and it's not that simple, but I'm not very pleased with a lot of the problems we're having with them. But I'm just one person. But anyway, I'm not a big fan. But we're working with them, and we have this problem where we have all these databases that are relational. We're using them as analytical databases, but they were designed to be transactional. They have row-level locking when you do reads because they don't have multi-version concurrency control because this database that they're using is their own. They wrote it a million years ago. Like this company started around the time Microsoft started. They've been building their own shit forever. They've been building stuff on top of their stuff. And they're very, very, very pragmatic about what they spend their time making better. So pragmatic that it consistently costs us a lot of time as a company doing stuff that they could have made much easier for us. And one of those things is that they ship this analytical database, quote unquote, but it's actually just a really old transactional database. And we're using it for analytics. And it's really not great.
Wait, an analytical database just has properties that makes it easier to do like certain queries for
Yeah.
analysis?
So the implementation is usually that instead of being row oriented, for example, they'll orient data in columns so that you can do more efficient queries. They will have better locking strategies that allow multiple people to read at the same time. You can have writers while you're reading. There's a lot of most people can do that last thing.
But there's some trade-off, right, where analytical databases have got to be worse for like live transaction loads, right? Like you wouldn't use one for banking.
Yeah. So one common trade-off is that analytical databases, like most of the time what you're doing with analytics is looking at all of the rows and doing averages and sums and stuff. And in all of those access patterns, you have to touch all of the rows of a column anyway. So they usually skimp out on stuff like, I want to have a B tree that takes me to the exact row with this ID. And instead, what you'll get is you just scan the entire table to find that thing. And that's not great if you're doing ID lookups all the time, but that's not what analytics are.
Yeah, so you're just facing like really long and slow.
Unbelievably long and slow. It takes
Yeah.
weeks, dude. Literally, our queries run for weeks. If you do something that has to scan the full table, so there's lots of secondary indexes that we use, and it's still not great because there's a lot of random accesses going on. But when we have to do a full table scan because we don't have an index, queries take weeks. And sometimes the databases randomly crash. And sometimes we have to do maintenance and we have to restart things. And that means we have to start the query over. And there's just all kinds of no good, very bad situations we get into where we're having huge productivity losses because we have to wait so long.
Have you heard of Mother Duck?
No, what's that?
It's apparently an interesting project for analytical workflows.
Oh, is somebody plugging something? All right. Where's that? Or was that all of it?
It's just Mother Duck is interesting.
Rewrite in Rust. I tried to sell them. I told them, listen, I want to just make my own database. And they were like, no. They let me get pretty close, actually. I did get to write some stuff in Rust, but that did not fix the entire problem. It solved some of the problem.
Making big data feel small. Oh, that doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, it's white. It's loading really fast. So do they do like incremental results and stuff? I mean,
Damn,
okay.
dude, that's loading fast.
Well, so dude, it's easy to make anything fast when you only have 10 rows.
True.
Okay, but the problem is
True.
we have like a lot of rows. It's billions. I'm not exaggerating. It's many billions.
DuckDB. DuckDB I've never heard of DuckDB.
Is it JavaScript? Is that a reference to JavaScript?
You have a deep-seated hate for that language. Overview.
So what does DuckDB actually do? Why is it good?
With all your users in one big shared box, they're constantly competing for reason. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know what DuckDB is, dude. I'm sure it's very cool. All the graphics are very cool.
It's simple and straightforward in analytics.
Oh, so one of them is the mother duck, and the other ducks like do work for her.
I guess so, yeah. Someone explain. Real-time shit, if I recall. Real time. What does that mean?
It's like if you have. It's like Postgres is not designed to minimize response latency. It's optimized for maximum response throughput because that's what web people care about financially. But there are other circumstances where it actually is important that you get the lowest possible response latency. In which case, probably just don't use the database, but like, I don't know. You know, maybe you got to. Maybe management says you have to and you have no choice.
What's your use case for this database? Management said I had to. Yeah. So it's just faster because, if I understand this correctly, because if you're just serving directly from the file system, you don't have to go through a bunch of intermediary steps to convert into a query language and then back into the format you needed. Like, you're having to do a conversion in each side of the trip.
Yeah, so there's the fact that there's a trip, there's the conversions.
Well, how are you going to get rid of the trip? Isn't the trip inevitable?
Well, you just read the file, and then there's the trip to the file system.
Oh, I was thinking about the trip to the network trip.
Well, there is no network trick if you read the file system, because it's on the disk.
Okay.
But that depends on how you set up stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah, so it just takes a hella extra steps to read from the database. And okay.
so at the job, the problem is now we have.
Why not use Supabase? Why have a database or even Pocket Base? What is Supabase and isn't Supabase like Postgres development platform?
Yeah, is it just Postgres tooling hosted on the cloud?
I think it might be. Yeah.
I don't know, dude. All these database vendors are just the same in my mind. Like, all they do is they just run the database, and then they have all these pretty buttons you can use instead of typing commands.
Yeah, but it does have a Next.js starter template. In case you don't want to write any React.
Yeah, dude. It's not like you can just do JavaScript. You have to use their template. Like, it's so much better than just writing. So much marketing, dude. Making money in software it must be so easy. Like, if you can just do whatever like this.
Oh, here's the trade-off that DuckDB makes is high performance output on complex queries. So like you can't really make very complex queries on a file system easily, I guess.
Well, I don't really know what complex queries means here, dude.
I guess, yeah. Hundreds of columns and billions of rows, like
Like, you're saying it goes really fast, and that's what makes it high performance?
well, I think he's saying it's like the intersection of, like, it's like it's trying to, I don't know, weren't we talking about originally like you lose some structure if you're just storing on the file system. Like it's harder to do queries because your data is like
Well, you have to impose your own structure, and you don't get the query building program that is in SQL world. You have to write the program to do the query.
yeah, you're rolling your own database essentially.
Oh, I just want to show you guys my life hack here. If you go to the store, you can buy, I have a 3-pong,
Oh, I did that too.
and it goes into 2. My apartment doesn't have 3, so I had to go buy a bunch of them, but it's nice.
Why do we not have ground pins in a lot of our things
Well,
anymore?
my apartment's just really old. But also, why do we need ground pins if I can just convert the ground pin into not being there?
Ground pin to not adapter.
All right, and to finish my problem at work, so we run these really long queries and things keep stopping, and my whole thing is like, all right, can we build something that sits between me and the database and will automatically retry, which will split up queries and partition them and then reassemble them? I would like it to be so that I get some results immediately, and then the results can accumulate and I can incrementally. And what that allows me to do is that if I fucked up the query and I'm getting garbage results, I see that immediately instead of after 2 weeks. Like, that's something that happens to us. And a bunch of other just like,
Yeah.
it would be great if we had a tool that was actually good for working with SQL instead of all this stupid REPL copied into Excel
Wait, but
nonsense.
you're not allowed to touch this vendor's internal database?
Well, it's their code and we don't have their code, so it's like, what am I going to do?
But it's not SQL. They've rolled their own database.
Well, so SQL is just a language. They have their own database. You can use SQL to query it.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Right.
So to achieve this result of not having this thing be such a problem is that I would like to have a server application that runs somewhere and does the work, and then a client application which talks to my server application. Which is like the de facto. So the other thing is that like you can't just have the query running on your laptop because your laptop restarts periodically. Like if people send out updates, it's not reliable. So you have to run it on a dedicated machine.
You don't want to pull 4 billion customers onto your laptop.
Well, that too. No, yeah.
Yeah. So basically their database is still super shitty. You just like make a wrapper on top of querying it that's less shitty. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
It's just more abstraction.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, like I'd like it. I also think it'd be nice to have a tool that can like. Okay, so the modern way to do big analytics, by the way, is you don't you separate compute from storage. So what happens when you have Postgres or this database or SQL Server or whatever is that all of the data is on files on the disk, but it's in this proprietary table format that is specific to that database. And the result of that is that the only way, you can only read things as fast as the database program can read them. Only that database can read the file, and everything has to go through the database process, which means you're bottlenecked on compute. So the modern way to do it is that there are all these open source table formats that you can write to and just maintain a table without having a dedicated database process as is traditional. For analytics, this is really good. For transactional stuff, Postgres is great because there's different trade-offs. But so one of these formats is called Delta Lake. That's a table format, and like so, the table is literally just a directory on your computer with folders and stuff in it. And there are library languages that know how to operate on the table without fucking up all the data. And when you want to insert a row, you just do it yourself. You want to read a row, you just do it yourself. And it's much faster for analytics and simpler.
Yeah.
Another format is Apache Iceberg. My understanding is that they're basically at the same place in terms of capabilities. It's like, so there was Iceberg, which Apache did. Apache is like they have all this big data stuff, but it's really hard to use and you need a PhD in it. And then there's this company, Databricks, which is a cloud vendor, and they're doing a bunch of stuff,
I
and they
hate them.
produces, you don't like them?
I had to use Databricks for my internship. Horrible.
Really?
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
Well, no, they weren't horrible. That I should take that back. Our data was really bad, and I'm falsely conflating Databricks with our data. I have nothing really against them.
And so Delta tables are something that Databricks made and open sourced, and Databricks does a lot of open source stuff. They're really great. I like them. I mean, I don't know much about them, but they do a lot of contribute to the open source, and they're like capitalistically incentivized to do it. It feels like it's a pretty okay. I'm trying to find this paper that I have. I'm not going to look through my bookmarks on stream, but there's this paper called.
Well, your screen isn't visible. You're probably fine. I'm not watching it.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Oh, I could troll you so hard right
Trying to find. There was this paper that Databricks published with some institution explaining modern data lake formats for analytics. I don't have the paper here. I don't know where the paper went, but it was like an actually good to read academic paper that you could. No, that's the evolution of impact Kubernetes. No, all right, I don't know where it is. I could probably just Google it. The data lakehouse architecture PDF. But it explains all these trade-offs that I'm talking about and how everybody ended up getting to. I don't know where it is, dude. If I find it, I'll give it to Sylvan and he can let you guys know. But
yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Oh no, I closed the chat. Where'd it go?
If you were curious about Bellman Ford earlier, it's so for this guy's understanding, if you're having a distributed network of lots of routers, since Dijkstra is greedy, it doesn't have the info about the entire graph. But Bellman Ford has cost for all destinations. So does that just mean you have to front load, like loading the entire graph? Like you have to look at the entire graph. You can't.
No, so you can still partially, like incrementally build the result, but you keep more information about the solution. And I mean, that's kind of partially, that's about how you can also, like that's fundamentally what allows you to increment partial results. Because what the guy's talking about is, like in network routing, it's a distributed system. You never have up-to-date information. And so everybody's constantly telling people what's happening for them and sending it to the other routers. And then they know what was happening. And they have to maintain a view of what the network is looking like to know where to send packets. Or were you saying something else?
No.
Oh, hopefully I get some new wisdom about database systems here and people using the acronyms now.
The great part is you can rewatch these. So it's like.
I can stare at how awkward I think I am. All right, somebody said 2 different optimizations for SQL, OLTP, online transaction processing, and online analytical processing. Yes.
Do we even read chat? Yes, but we only read the really boring comments.
These are the interesting comments, dude. What are you talking about?
I'm just trying to scare this guy away.
Don't they usually take OLTP workloads and convert them into a columnar representation to make analytics workflows faster? Yes, that is exactly what they do. Our vendor does not know how to do that.
What's
apparently.
OLTP?
Okay, so there's the two different optimizations are, so like you have a relational database, we're using SQL, we're storing stuff in relations. Now, depending on if your access pattern is, I'm looking up specific objects Like in web, when you're looking up their account and their information, and you're looking by ID, and you want one specific record,
Yeah.
that a database optimized for those types of operations is called an online transaction processing database. So they make a few key decisions usually. They are row oriented, which means that they store all of the columns of a row next to each other, and so you can fetch that entire thing at once.
Okay.
They have strong transaction processing stuff. They have secondary indexes, kind of things. So the other way you can go is if you're doing analytics, you want an online analytical processing database. And that optimizes the other way for, listen, I'm going to have to read every value of this column from all rows so that I can compute the average or whatever. And those databases make decisions like, we're not going to use any locks, and instead of using B trees, we're going to use log structured merge trees, and we're going to use column-oriented stuff. And that just has all kinds of advantages for access patterns. And they have different indexing that aren't B trees. They have very clever math stuff.
Probably not that clever once you understand it.
I mean, it's very clever. It's very cool. Okay, somebody's talking about Belmont Ford. Oh, I'm way back. On the topic of benefits of using Postgres in a graph relational manner, of using Postgres for graph relational stuff, I think, I recommend reading the paper Querying Graph Relational Data. Ooh, I'll take paper recommendation. I'm excited about that. Damn, I gotta get into the streaming stuff. People are gonna give me papers.
Yeah, I know. The crazy thing about this channel is like it's just like everyone's like hella giga nerd here.
Is it the one? I'm gonna put the thing in the chat and you can confirm hopefully if this is the right one. Ooh, we could read a paper, dude. We should read a paper sometime on stream.
Yeah, that would be sick.
All right, I'm not gonna read this right now, but it's in my bookmarks, so I'll get to it. Thank you. Somebody thinks database is great. That's good. Somebody says without autism you have almost no chances. What are you talking about?
Dude, that's like autism is such like a weird cuz it's like a spectrum disorder, right? Like how do you even know like if you have autism or not? Like I personally don't feel like either of us do based on this like image of autism I have of certain like behavior traits autistic people have. I think we're just like hella into grinding.
Psychology is really complicated, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think I have autism. The qualified individuals in my life who I actually trust to have an opinion on this that isn't brain dead say that I do not. I don't think you do.
Yeah.
Also, autism is an actual neurological thing that has an actual definition that is like...
It's kind of spreading around to just meaning obsessed with computers.
Well, people like using words. And
Sure do.
you can't know if you have autistic because you have nothing to compare to. Okay, well that's just not how definitions work, dude.
You can't know. That's funny. Also, wait, like that's just weird. Yeah, what is like the clinical?
Okay, wait, so this idea that if you don't have autism, you have basically no chances. Dude, chances at what, okay? You don't have to care about being good as much as I do to have a successful career in computing, dude. Like, you do not have to be... You don't have to try that hard.
And you realize that, I think, kind of as, like... There's, like, a stage of a few years. It depends on how hard you grind right off the bat, but where it looks like it may be kind of a toss-up of whether or not you'll be able to get a job. But once you get past a certain level, it's like, oh my God, there are so many people that are just really incompetent that the world needs people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, dude. Literally, if you could just read documentation and then when somebody asks you a question, say what the documentation said or do what the document, like literally,
I feel like also I have a problem where I'm like time blind, where I'm like I need to be this good, but I don't realize that I'm like getting better every day. And then you look back like 2 months ago, and you're like, oh my god, like I didn't understand allocators before we started like looking at Postgres, and like I don't. There's a lot to do, but I'm like chipping away at it. And the more you do that, the more you get kind of a macro picture of how things fit together. I don't know. There's a lot more to do, but
ooh, somebody says, so the DSM definitions, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, they have okay, psychologists have a book of all the words and
it's
definitions.
just the manual.
It's really good. They're really good about that. Yeah, dude. They have the 5th revision, they have the 6th revision. It's free. You could kill somebody with that book. It's huge. So the DSM definition only really exists for people to be able to get meds. It is a helpful line for them to draw so the doctors can prescribe them. Okay. Is skipping showers enough to qualify as an autistic? Dude, so as somebody who doesn't have autism, I don't feel qualified to answer this, but I think that's a dumbass question. It's just my vibes that I'm getting on it. Dude, so listen, I've done the thing where I read the autism diagnosis symptom things, and I've done it with my family, and it's been very funny. And I do have a lot of the symptoms that appear, but I have to tell you that I feel like I have. Man, I'm just talking out of my ass so hard right now. Like, operationally, I do have a lot of the autism behaviors, but like, internally, it is very clear to me that there is something else going on that explains the behaviors
Right.
that is recoverable and like different. Like, I just have an emotional, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. Don't worry.
It's interesting though, because like it's a very common pattern. Like the stuff I look at for my not by the book definition of autism is people that are just not socially aware at all, but like it's a different kind of lack of social like it's just a totally different vibe. Like there's a difference between being awkward and being not socially aware. I don't know. It's um and plus it's just like eventually you start to realize that basically like everything is a skill including social interaction, and like you've just chosen to not focus on that skill because something else was more interesting, and then later in life you can be like, oh, I just want to focus on social interaction, and you can learn it like just as well as you can learn anything else. And yeah, I honestly think like a lot of people consider like if you're like a really awkward person and you're like you don't interact with a lot of people, I feel like that's just a matter of like you put skill points into some other thing, which is just what it's kind of like just what most nerds do. They just put skill points into being career capable rather than being social. But
I don't know. It's like everybody has their own religion about this stuff, and it's like, what even is the point? I mean, yeah, that's what you're saying is probably helpful for some people to hear, though. Ooh, somebody's adding you, Sylvan. They're talking directly to you now. Have you learned about temporal logic / formal model verification? I have a course right now about this, and one question I have is why can't we just formally verify everything?
I have no idea what any of that means. Temporal logic, like having to do with time. Formal model verification, having to do with models being formally verified, I guess.
I might be able to answer part of this.
Do you know what any of those things are?
Yeah, so I don't know what model means specifically in this context. So the extent of my software formal verification stuff is I did this research project my freshman year at
Oh.
whatever. So the whole project was, you can go look this up, and let me find the link.
Is this the thing where you have like verified programs rather than?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's saying it would eliminate test-driven development.
Yeah, so it is like not, as spectacular as your. God damn it! Why can't I find anything, dude?
Oh, wait. Before you get sucked down that rabbit hole, be distracted by this one, which is what do you think about OCD? That's like this is just some random pleb asking this, but I don't know. I've heard that come up several times, like being obsessed with certain things.
Okay, wait. So where does it say? Because what exactly words he's using says a lot about what he wants to know. Where is that?
It's this guy with all the lowercase and the abbreviation. OCD harms you mentally. Or well, this Poseidon, this is a smart guy. He's talking about temporal logic. If you're obsessed with something, isn't it OCD?
No, because then it would just be. Then we would use those same words the same, and we would say that people. No, they're separate things. I don't have OCD. I don't know what the solution is. Like, there are actual non-externally visible properties of OCD. Like, if you actually look this stuff up, if you do your research by doing Google like me and being a responsible, responsible adult, no, it's not just like there's actual stuff going on. And it's not just being obsessed with something. Like, what's the difference between being really interested in something and it just being the most interesting thing in your life compared to everything else for a period, and it being that way forever? I don't know. If you have actual, like, go talk to somebody who knows things.
You have to have 40 different hobbies and smoke a bunch of weed, and that will fix OCD. Because then you won't be obsessed with any specific things.
Dude, I'm having such a crazy hard time finding this repository. All right, so I
Oh,
used
dude,
to go to
GitHub
this
search
college.
is horrible.
Dude, I know. It's
It's
like I
so
literally
bad.
made all of these commits. Why don't you just give me that one? But
It's
it keeps
so
finding all the
bad.
others. All right, look. So I was at this college, Vermont Technical College. They're not called that anymore. They merged with somebody else. I received probably a million emails describing every step of the merge, and yet I still don't know what happened. But they had this research project called CubeSat or something like that, and the whole thing was NASA was giving out a bunch of money 20 years ago, and they're like, hey, if you build a 10 centimeter cube satellite, we will put it into space if you do some cool research thing on it. And 20 years ago, our school did it, and it was baller, dude. Everybody else's satellite didn't work, apparently, but ours was working. The one from MIT didn't work, but ours did, which is crazy because we were like this tiny little college.
That's awesome.
And I was talking to this guy, Carl Brandon, who was a professor there. He got me into the project, and he was like, he was explaining how we won.
Way to dox Carl Brandon live on the air.
Oh, well, am I doxing people? Is that bad? No,
That's
he's,
like public knowledge.
yeah, he's very proud of it. He said, he talks a lot about it.
Yeah.
But he explains to me, so what we did that everybody else didn't do is everyone did their project in C, and we use this language called Spark Ada, or Ada Spark. So Ada is a language. If you look it up, you'll find something about the American government disabilities thing. But so you have to put European after it because they don't have that acronym. But Ada is this old language. It's about as complicated as C++.
American Disability Association.
It was so frustrating finding documentation, dude. Every single thing I had to search twice. So Ada is this C++ level-ish complexity language. It does a lot of things very nicely. I really love it. It has this immensely strong type system. You can articulate arbitrary constraints, like full-up arbitrary constraints, and say, okay, this is an integer type, but it's my int type, and it's only valid if it's a prime number. And then you can specify how it checks, and at runtime it will check, and it will always be consistent. And it's a great way to lose a lot of time. So then Spark is on top of Ada. It is a subset of the language with additional tooling that formally verifies the program. So what
Formally verifies meaning?
meaning any error condition, like if you divide by 0, it will formally analyze your program and statically prove that that will never ever happen.
Which just gives you complete guarantees that
Yeah.
short of like cosmic radiation flipping a bit, you're going to be okay.
Exactly, yeah. So with C, there's lots of footguns, and you can dereference null pointers, and you can do this and that, and it's like easy to fuck things up. And if you're a bunch of undergrads who don't have any experience and you're writing software for satellites, you will fuck things up, and that's what happened to everybody. But with Spark Ada, you got Spark staring over your shoulder, screaming at you when you do the most mundane things, and it won't stop screaming until you fix the problem. Um, but so Spark Programs is an attempt at this fully verified thing. It will perfectly, like every single place in your program where you divide by a number, Spark will say, okay, can this number you're dividing be by 0? Where are all the places that this number could come from? Could it be 0 in any of those places? And it will recursively go back through your entire ass program and make sure that that is never happening.
Sounds like a nightmare to write.
Um, so there's a lot of things they do to make it easier. Like you can add complex pre and post conditions to your function, which articulate what invariance it has. You can use pragma assume, and you can like speak directly to the prover and say, listen, I'm going to increment the 64-bit number every time a second passes. I want you to assume that it doesn't overflow. It's not going to overflow, relax. You can make asserts. You have to like explain complex invariance about your program. When you have a for loop, it can prove that the for loop will terminate in all cases. And so you have to articulate these complex proofs about how such and such is increasing every time, and so that it's guaranteed to end. It's impossible to have data races, I think, or yeah. It's not impossible to have race conditions, or actually it honestly might be. They went all out. They were super baller. They actually, so the downside to all this is that it really, really takes a lot of time to babysit the compiler through understanding why everything is safe. And in a lot of cases, at least with Spark, Ada in particular, the thing just wasn't smart enough to do stuff that it basically needed to do to write useful programs. Like you can do a lot of simple stuff, like, so the version of the tool I used did not support heap allocations because it couldn't deal with pointers because it didn't have a formal, oh wait, that's not true. They added that just before I got there. So like in Rust, you can formally prove, Rust has like a softer ball version of this, where you can formally prove all kinds of stuff about pointers and deallocations and whatever, with ownership and lifetimes and borrowing. So Ada basically copied what Spark did, except it was really unfortunate. And every time I made a change to the program, it had to load for 15 minutes to prove everything. And I was not very good at programming at that point.
Yeah.
And I ended up just like sideballing that part, and then I went and wrote a transpiler for something else because it was more fun. But
And it's like an extreme trade-off towards safety, which is like an extreme aerospace kind of context.
yeah. Yeah, so like if you're doing NASA stuff, that's probably, I also probably just wasn't the best at programming at that point, and I probably could have used the tool more effectively. And I was making like the classic OO mistake and trying to like be extremely, I was trying to prove a lot, and in retrospect, I probably should have just proved less. But no, I don't know. It's a very fascinating avenue of exploration. I'm not going to be using it for any of my regular ass projects, but if you're building satellites, I'd take a look at it. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Our Greek mod arrived. Sweet.
So you define like a state machine which different states and then follow all the paths to check if properties like liveliness and no deadlock holds. So to fix deadlocks, what they did is they just nerfed the language, and you can only use explicit message passing with loops. So you just can't, there's no deadlocking because there's no locks. Like there's locks, but it's only in this very specific construct where you pass things to other things. And then it proves that the receiving loop will not crash and burn. State machine. So I don't really know the details of how they implemented the prover, but there was a lot of like, I write a function, and then under the function definition, I say with precondition, input parameter is not equal to 0.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And yeah, so it has to check all the paths. The trouble is that if it has to check all of the paths recursively, suddenly and this is also one of the problems with formal proof things that we have to overcome is that like that's not a linear operation anymore. If you have to check every single state that your program could possibly get into, you don't have enough compute to do that. You just can't do it. So you have to use clever rules and like do a limited form of that.
And just like prune certain branches that aren't possible, or
Well, it's stuff like instead of considering every single value an integer could have, you have to make buckets and say, look, it's either 0 or greater than 0,
I
and these are
see.
the two cases. And Ada's type system is like key to making this work because you can put wild ass invariants on types. Um, like Ada, the base language has 3 or 4 integer types. I keep touching the mic.
Whatever. This
So
isn't. There's no
there's
quality in this kind of conversation.
so there's integer, which is a regular integer, and then there's natural, which is 0 or greater, and then there's positive, and those are 3 types. Um, and you can define negative as not positive or not natural, and you know, da 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 da.
Oh.
But it's I don't know. It's really interesting. Having the thing stare over my shoulder. Like I still have a little bit of trauma to this day, and every time I index into a list, I'm like, do I know that that has an element there? Do I know that's not null? And I write better code, so it's a good experience.
This Astro Samdev, the guy from MIT, said, "Yeah, MIT, we can never get anything right." So your Ada program was better.
How much potential? Oh, I don't want to answer that, dude. It doesn't matter.
That
Literally, just work harder. Okay.
that I mean to not let that guy be discouraged, like your perspective of us being really smart is simply because you haven't like really dug that deep into stuff yet. Like I was, and you were too, I'm assuming, like very normal kid. I'm not a genius at all. If I was a genius, I would be, I don't know. I would not be here. I would probably be in a Lambo or something.
Well, you know, I was special kid pretty much the whole time.
Really?
Yeah. I was socially special kid in the way that you're imagining, and I was also brain special kid. But I actually like I don't know, like there's a lot of emotional development stuff that I've missed out on. But it's like it's really complicated, dude. And like don't let that discourage anybody. That's really not. You do not need to be Mr. Smarty Pants to succeed in life or in programming.
Yeah, not at all. It's consistent work is like absolutely way more important. I honestly like how much do you believe in innate intelligence versus just like learned patterns? Like it seems like it seems like learning is just so massively more powerful than just being smart and not doing anything with it.
Well, learning is the only way to gain intelligence. Like this innate thing, I feel like maybe maybe there's some kind of genetic component. Maybe it's all just correlation in how people raise their kids.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a big thing we could talk about. But like, learning is the only way to like. Nobody comes out of the womb knowing how to reverse binary tree or whatever the fuck.
I mean, I did, but
I mean, Sylvan did, but we can't all be like Sylvan.
yeah.
Literally, it's so like a lot of when people say, "Oh, you have natural talent," I'm like, "No, I just worked way harder than you, and that was the priority." In high school, everybody was like, "Oh man, Eric doesn't do any homework. Eric doesn't. Um, he's so successful. He just knows all these things." And I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" Like, when I was learning calculus, I woke up at 5 o'clock every morning to do my homework and
Yeah.
think, and like, I did so much work. I just didn't do it in front of you guys. And while I was doing it, when I was in front of you guys, I wasn't like, oh, I'm so dumb. I can't do this. I just shut up and learned the thing. Okay? Like, literally just work harder.
It's the same thing with being jacked. Like you can't like people that like are mad about people like having a great physique. It's just because they worked.
Yeah, dude. It's like with physical stuff, everybody seems to understand that to get jacked, you have to work out. But as soon as it becomes psychological, everybody's like, oh, people are just gifted. Everyone's just special.
Yeah.
Like, I have had advantages, okay, but it's like not, it's nothing insurmountable, guys.
And personally, I think like mental lifting, if you were to call it that, learning, I guess, is like far more complex and nuanced than, well, I don't want to call it than like any physical sport. I'm sure there's like actually tons and tons that goes into all the mechanics of all these different sports. Sports and physical activities have a lot that go into them, but it's like you're right that people seem less willing to accept that just hard work and practice is what makes you knowledgeable.
Well, it's like also you can practice at a sport and not get any better at it,
Yeah.
right? And it's possible to spend lots of time thinking and not get any smarter. Like there is, it's not okay. You actually do have to think. All right, you have to think, and you have to like think about your thinking and make sure that what you're doing is actually helping you develop. And
Yeah.
you have to have objective metrics and go, is that actually objectively helping or not? And you actually have to be very scientific.
Is there I wanted to get your take on this because what is that? Is it Bayesian? Do you know that term? Bayesian? Um, Someone dropped a comment about it, but basically it's like so there's thinking from like logical first principles, and then there's like pattern recognition, I guess, based on more vibes. And where, what am I even going? Like, what am I even trying to say with this? I completely, I don't know, but whatever. Um,
Well, I mean, it's relevant. Should I say something now, or you?
yeah, yeah,
Well, it's like okay, so like throwing a javelin. If I could not throw the javelin. I gave up. I got angry and I like marched off, and I was like, I'm done throwing javelin in high school.
yeah,
It is not. There's so much non-obvious technique about how you run up and how you hold your body and how you throw it and how you do this and that.
mm-hmm,
It's so complicated. All sports are like that, dude. The people who are good at sports are the ones who understand that and will relentlessly criticize their form and think to get better. Okay.
yeah,
There's so many people who are just like, oh man, when am I going to hit the big leagues? Why am I not being promoted? Why am I not succeeding? It's like, well, that's good that you're asking that question. I mean, I'm asking it rhetorically with my voice here, but like to succeed and be the best, you actually have to think about that and then go, okay, what am I doing wrong? What exactly? And you got to be real critical and think like that. Like it's easy to get stuck into a loop of like the default human thing to do, which is like get frustrated and like, oh well, man, I guess I'll just keep trying because everybody says keep trying. But like, no, 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 you do have to think.
yeah, yeah,
And like being extremely objective, people think that the scientific method in science is like limited in its applicability. No, dude. Like you look at the people who are really good at the top of their field, they can explain exactly using straight up facts and logic, no best practices, no who feels this. They just explain, no opinions at all. They explain facts only, why what they're doing, and what effects it's having, what trade offs they're making, and how it's leading to them succeeding. And they know, like, if you're going to be really good, you need to understand using the facts and the logic.
mm-hmm,
And that's really slow, and it sucks to do it, and it's a lot of work. And that's why not everyone is the best.
yeah. Well, I get the sense there are like a lot more people that are quite good that we don't interact with on a day to day, but yeah, like there's an innumerable. Well, you could count it, but like there's a lot of really, really, really good people out there that have realized these things. But there's also a fuck ton of idiots out there who haven't. I mean, just look at the state of like all the React hype and stuff.
Okay, somebody with a little crown thing next to their name says, you don't need to be scientific to get good. You just need to work on challenging stuff consistently.
Do you believe that?
No, like, no. Like that's correlated with the right answer, but it's not the right answer. Like if you don't understand why what you're doing makes sense and what the trade-offs are, you can follow as many challenging tutorials as you want, and you will be able to do the things in the tutorials. Like this isn't a losing strategy, but the winning strategy is you challenge yourself, you do the confusing things. Like the reason that challenging things are good is because they give you new data and new experiences that you can use to refine and make better understanding of the world and how things work. But just doing the challenging thing and just walking through the motions is not enough. Like it's a good first step and it'll get you a lot of the way, but
Yeah. One thing I just feel bad for people like saying things that I can't respond to this just influx of information. But I don't know. If you're here, you enjoy it.
yeah, it's hard. People gotta like pull themselves out of their situation, which is like hard.
Well, it's continually happening, which is like the like it's amazing how much progress you can make and how much your life can change in like the 0 to 25, I feel like it's just unreal.
If you learn too much, your brain will overfit. Dude, what are you talking about? That's okay. If you're overfitting, you're not learning anymore. You're just copying. Like this is what makes humans not LLMs. Okay, is that we can see the pattern and then we can logically and objectively find the place where the pattern ends.
Sometimes it depends on the application. I mean, I think that's a difficult thing to do in some cases.
I know it's challenging. It's like learning is not, nobody's born with the ability to learn. Like it is something that you learn to learn and then you become more effective at learning. And like I'm just sharing my strategy, and I've thought very hard about how to learn, and my strategy is the science strategy, but like maybe there's other strategies on how to learn. But if you want a first one to try out, I'd try out science.
Yeah. You know what's an interesting realization I had is recently, I don't know if you'd agree with this, is like there are people walking around with amounts of knowledge and intelligence, I guess, but I would say it's not general intelligence. Usually it's like on a specific thing that are like just scary amounts smarter than you at that thing. Like it's not like a physical characteristic where you can be like that person's 10% taller than me. Like there are people walking around that are like 300 times more knowledgeable than you about certain things because I think knowledge can just build in such a way that if you have someone like a professor who's been doing the same problems for years and years and years, like you can really build up a pyramid of information.
Yeah. Okay, so the guy with the crown next to his name says that I didn't read his thing well enough. You don't need to be scientific to get good. You just need to work on challenging stuff consistently. And then he clarified, I said you can, not that you will. I agree that working on challenging React web problems, like I critique myself, but you don't need to get into, quote, objectivism. I don't know what he's saying. Maybe that's, I don't know.
You ever get the feeling where there's like stuff that's like really you know something is like really smart or like it's really wise and good information based on context, like maybe you're reading a book that's like you know this author is like knows what they're talking about, but your current instinct is to just like reject it because you don't like some information just sounds like gibberish before you've built up the prerequisite connections to understand it. But like the logical part of my brain knows like this textbook author knows what's up. But
Yeah.
when you're reading it, you're like, no, that's just hogwash.
Yeah, so maybe this guy is totally on a different level than I am right now. For sure. I just don't know what objectivism specifically refers to, and honestly, I've thought enough about philosophy at this point that I think I've got my thoughts pretty much figured out.
And honestly, I think that's like a great place to be. Like, I'm kind of, I'm trying to figure out my thoughts right now, but a lot of people just say like, just do the thing. Like you, I don't know. It seems like half the comments are like, yeah, figuring out your thoughts and metacognition is really important if you want to actually get good in the long term. But the other half of the people are like, that stuff can just be developed if you just keep doing the thing. If you just keep actually coding.
This
Yeah.
guy says programming is a science and an art. You have to know the technique, the rules, and the general process, but it's an art. So what you create and how you create it. You know, I'm not even going to argue with him. That's fine. All right. Sounds legit, dude. I guess my only thing that I might bitch about a little bit is that I feel like I don't understand the difference between art and engineering.
That's a big debate. Isn't it like a thing of like form versus function, or like as soon as it becomes functional, it's like no longer art?
Okay, but art is functional because it communicates the author's purpose / does whatever the artist wanted it to do. And if the artist is good, they're using engineering type reasoning to build their art to do what they want it to do, right?
Then I could buy that just everything is engineering. That art is just engineering.
But I don't know. I guess the distinction is, yeah.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades or master. Do you want to keep reading all these, or do you have a preference what we do?
Yeah. Let me. I have to go for dinner at like 5 anyway, so maybe we should just end stream because